motion to approve without as written?
So moved. Second.
I have a movement, I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved as written. We always take reports from some of our key people at these meetings. We're going to start with Joe Moore with our legal report for the past year. By the way, can everybody back there hear me? Is the computer working all right?
Good morning. As last year, my legal report seems to get shorter every year, and I'm sure that that is good news for the association. It certainly is this year. Legal matters occurring during the year since my last report of August 2003 have been relatively few. Legal matters of importance occurring during the year, including updates from last year, are as follows. With respect to the complaint for declaratory judgment, an injunction and related relief filed by Ocean Pines Association against BFI Waste Systems of North America, a hearing was held on Ocean Pines Association's motion for summary judgment regarding the issues in the case. The court granted summary judgment as to the right of Ocean Pines Association, Inc. to award an exclusive franchise. That right was upheld. And with respect to the injunction request from Ocean Pines enjoining BFI Waste Systems from contracting for trash services within the community, that was also granted. The summary judgment granted by the Circuit Court in favor of Ocean Pines Association left only the issue of alleged damages claimed by BFI Waste Systems of North America. That case was originally scheduled on that remaining issue for June 21, 2004. However, prior to that date, BFI Waste Systems and Ocean Pines Association agreed that the remaining allegations of damages would be dismissed. Therefore, the case was resolved in favor of Ocean Pines Association being allowed to contract with and grant exclusive franchise rights for trash collection within Ocean Pines. Also, suit was filed in the United States District Court for the District of Maryland by Thomas Cassett, formerly the golf course superintendent of Ocean Pines, against Ocean Pines Association, Inc., and Mr. Ferguson, the general manager. The suit alleged defamation of Mr. Cassett by certain alleged statements made by Mr. Ferguson. Those statements are denied. As a result of motions to dismiss filed on behalf of Ocean Pines Association and Mr. Ferguson, the United States District Court granted motions related to Mr. Ferguson individually, removing him from the case, and with regard to limiting the allegations of damages to actual damages, which would preclude Mr. Cassett from requesting so-called punitive damages, or damages caused to punish the association. The remaining issues in the case are simply whether alleged defamatory statements were made, and if so, whether Mr. Cassett suffered actual out-of-pocket damages. A settlement conference ordered by the court will take place in September, which is the standard procedure in the United States District Court. If the settlement conference does not prevail, then a case date will be scheduled. At this point in time, there is no trial date scheduled. They are presently undergoing negotiations with respect to the turnover of areas within the park, which is Section 16 in Ocean Pines, from the developer to Ocean Pines Association, Inc. The negotiations include the respective obligations of the developer, of Ocean Pines Association, Inc., and the Park Homeowners Association with regard to continuing maintenance of roads, drainage areas, and open spaces within the park. Various matters involving the enforcement of the Architectural Review Committee guidelines and decisions have occurred during the year. There are presently pending in the Circuit Court approximately 6 cases in which the Circuit Court has ordered the property owners to show cause why the requested determination by the court in favor of Ocean Pines Association should not be granted. All cases which have been resolved during the year have been resolved in the favor of the association. And as always, our office continues to cooperate with Art Carmine's staff in filing suit where necessary to enforce the payment of assessments as required under the various declarations of restrictions. And Mr. President, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, very much. Mrs. Ferguson, General Manager's report.
Good morning. This is my 5th annual meeting as General Manager of Ocean Pines, and I can report to you that Ocean Pines is alive, well, active, and still engaged in very healthy community debate, something that Ocean Pines is well known for. Ocean Pines is and continues to be a dynamic community. Communities of all sizes, shapes, anywhere in the world. One thing is constant is change. And oftentimes change is difficult to handle in a community. I think the Ocean Pines is no different than anyone else. The healthy debate on change that is going to occur and how we react to it is a very, very positive thing that goes on very adamantly and patiently in Ocean Pines. Nonetheless, change continues slow and steady, and I think on course and is being well managed. I think to continue that, there are 4 basic principles that foundations of any community that have to be met, and I think they've been laid very well in Ocean Pines. Number 1, we need to continue to be financially healthy. I can report to you that we are. Our auditors will give you a little more detailed report on that, but Ocean Pines continues to be in a very healthy situation. This year, again, we had a positive return to our operating fund balance, meaning we took in more money than we spent, and that's a continuing trend that has been in place for the last 4 years. We're particularly proud of that this year, in that I think we all know we had a very difficult weather season, which impacts dramatically on our revenue-producing side of the amenities: golf, marina, the swimming pools, food service. All are affected by adverse weather conditions. But we did prevail, and we did well, and despite some lousy weather and some adverse conditions, our amenities continue to be self-sufficient, and in fact returned a positive return to our operations of about $18 per property. We also made major improvements in food service. On net before depreciation, we've had the highest revenues in the history of Ocean Pines from all of our revenue or food sources, and our lowest operating losses. We're targeted this year to cut those losses down to close to break-even point. If our trends continue, our food services so far this year have done very, very well. Anyone who was at the yacht club last night saw a robust crowd, and despite a little rain delays, etc., we still are doing very well. The beach club, despite some of the weather, is doing record income over at the beach club as well. So people are using. I think we've made major progress in all aspects of food service. Our reserve balance has been built through decisions by the board of directors, to build our reserves this year. We're going to end at approximately $3.1 million in our reserve fund. Again, that's healthy. Is that the right number? I can't stand here and tell you 100% it's the right number, but I do know it's a heck of a lot healthier than we were in the history of Ocean Pines, and we're taking hard looks at what that number should be. Is 3.1 enough, or should we have more? And again, there's healthy debate on that. Ocean Pines has no long-term debt. Obviously a good sign of financial health. Of interest is that our assessed value, the total value of properties in Ocean Pines, is set at approximately $1.8 billion, representing about 19% of the total assessed value of the entire county. Again, very healthy sign in a community, and obviously those values are growing. The bottom line, because we were in and are in good financial health, I think everyone knows this year there was no increase in our property assessments for Ocean Pines purposes. Second fundamental that I'd identify is to have a strong, healthy, active staff. And I'm particularly proud of the staff that we've built and maintained. I think we've reported before that our full-time employment has reduced from 89 to 81.5, or in other words, we've reduced approximately 7.5 full-time employment positions in Ocean Pines. That, I think, is a function or a sign that people are working more effectively because we've been able to continue to meet the demands of a growing community. Some of the changes in the economy, we've been able to address some of the technology changes and are constantly working in that regard, and also react to things like that I call are just out of our control, or things that we cannot deal with. Weather, the impact of weather on our operations, things that happen out of our sphere of interest, things like mosquitoes as a result of the weather, or traffic impacts of growth in the region. And still, I think we've been able to respond and handle those in a satisfactory manner. Third foundation is to have a strong and build a strong and maintain a strong infrastructure. Our road resurfacing program is continuing. In fact, we're in about the 9th year of that program. We should be finishing up. Most of the paving this year will be done in Section 10. There's one other area to do next year, and then we should be done and begin to look at building that reserve up. A bulkhead replacement program is continuing. As you may know, the recent storms damaged about 1,700 feet of bulkhead. We've responded to that, and we'll have those repairs made by, I think, the end of September, and we'll continue on target with our bulkheading program as scheduled. Incidentally, our bulkheading program is projected out to the year 2013, and then we can start all over again. Continue to rebuild our buildings. As we all know, our buildings primarily are over 35 years old, and they need constant attention. We've continued the canal dredging program, continued to deal with drainage problems, and made improvements where possible. We did get inundated the last several weeks with drainage complaints, and have tried to respond to all of them and get in shape for whatever happens this weekend. Hopefully it's light rain. Community playground has been developed, expanded, thanks to the efforts of volunteers. 2 new fishing piers were built at the South Pond with help from the Optimist Club. Landscaping improvements have been made throughout the community. I hope you've noticed some of the new entrance facilities, and the overall general increase in beautification in Ocean Pines. The fourth foundation, I'd say, is identified as the ability to react to external issues. Much of what I've been talking about is internal daily operations of Ocean Pines that the staff generally responds to. But there's the test of ability of a community is how do you react to external pressures that are out of your control again. Things like decisions made by the county. Issues on sewer and water are going to be prominent and are prominent and will be in the future, and we need to pay attention to them and be involved with that process. Subdivision approvals in and around our community, Pennington Commons and some other development that is going to be occurring around Ocean Pine has a tremendous impact on Ocean Pine, and the mark of a good community is how we respond and how we deal with those type of issues. State issues, things like loss of state funding to the county and the road system, the state aid that they get from the gas tax that passes on to us has been severely curtailed during the past 2 years. The budget problems the state has filter down and affect us as well. Highway issues, what happened on Route 50 and 589, again, are things not under our immediate jurisdiction, but they have tremendous impact. And certainly other areas, things like decisions made by the Ocean City Town Council on what they're doing to their properties in and around our properties have an impact on us, and we need to deal with them. Mediacom rate increases. They are projecting another rate increase of $1. I know last year when they increased it, I spent, it seemed like about 95% of my time for a month just dealing with increases that we have nothing to do about. Those are set by Mediacom through their franchising agreement approval through the state of Delaware. But it impacts us. It does affect Ocean Pines as a community. Even things like the changes in the Fair Labor Standards Act, which is currently far out of our control, but impacts us on what our overtime policies and payment for our employees. So the point is that there's all sorts of impacts that we really have no control over, but need to effectively deal with. What I'd say is the three major ingredients for how Ocean Pines will continue to be successful. And I want to emphasize, I think we have been very successful as a community. Number one, we need continued strong leadership from the board of directors. We need not only strong leadership, but effective decision making. And I think we've had that and will have that into the future. Good planning, continued good planning is needed. During the course of the last several years, we've updated our comprehensive plan. We've conducted the demographic study. We've had our golf membership restructuring, the internal control study, a marina expansion study that we're looking at, a community facilities plan, insurance task force, and the creation of a communications and technology committee is looking at all of the phases of technology that we're utilizing. Again, good planning makes for good management, makes for good community. The third final ingredient is a continued active involvement by the property owner. And I think everybody knows Ocean Pines community property owners are active, involved, and engaged, and attend meetings. They never hesitate to let us know what their feelings, either emails or phone calls. I get very few letters anymore, but certainly get an abundance of emails, phone calls, and personal visits, all of which is very healthy. Participation in the community forums has been excellent in the last several years, or the last year that have been instituted by the board. I hope they continue. I hope they continue to get wide participation and turnout by the residents. In my judgment, Ocean Pine is the best informed, most active community that I've seen and been involved with, and that's a very, very healthy thing, and again, hope it continues. I think with all of those ingredients that are in place and the fundamentals that we're functioning with, Ocean Pine will continue to thrive and be a great place to not only live, but to own property. And the final analysis, I guess that's what we're all about, is to maintain the property values of Ocean Pine and our properties. And by any measure, I think we've met those tasks and have succeeded. Thank you very much.
All of you have a tough act to follow. Our auditor's report for the price period in mind. First of all,
Seems like I always file, Dave, and I always got to move this back down again. It's a little bit too tall. Can't hear me? What about now? No? It should be on. It's on. About now? Better? Yell at me again if you can't hear me. I'll try to be brief this morning and just touch on a couple of general comments. Dave, your general manager, did an accurate and good job of talking about some specific issues during the course of the year, food service, as well as some of the other reserve balances and whatnot. So I'll try to be brief and touch on just a few general comments. As always, your financial statement is available from your administrative office across the way. Art Carmine and his staff have copies of those. If you need some pleasure reading at night, it's a nice bound 40-page document that you can find over in his office for some good nighttime reading. But just to touch on a couple of general comments, as Dave mentioned, the association is sound and healthy. As of April 30, 2004, we have about $7.9 million in the bank, which is a little over $1 million increase over the prior year. We have about $23 million in total assets that the finance office manages. Of that amount, $14 million is in net property and equipment. When Dave talks about planning and doing a comprehensive plan and future major repairs and replacement study, that's why it's very important. As of the end of the year, we have, as Dave mentioned, about $3 million in the replacement fund balance, but we have $14 million in net property and equipment. So during the course of the year, Art and his staff completed a future repairs and replacement study. We had already completed a building replacement study, so that was the final piece of the puzzle. The AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, requires us to report. If you don't do one of those studies, if you look at the auditor's report, there's a paragraph in prior years that says something to the effect that we have not completed a study. This year you won't find that paragraph, as they did complete the study. The AICPA doesn't come out and let us say, hey, you completed the study in the auditor's report, but if you look at the notes, it will discuss that a study was completed. Once again, the association received an unqualified opinion. As I've said before, that's the highest level of assurance that an independent audit firm can give on the financial statements. A couple operating results for the year ended April 30, 2004. As Dave mentioned, the association did have a little bit of a surplus this year. You okay? They had an excess of revenues over expenses of approximately $26,000 in the operating fund this year, as we continue to eliminate the operating fund balance deficit created several years ago, as those of you may know, when we paid off some sports core debt. The replacement fund balance had an excess of revenues over expenses of about $700,000. We continue to increase the replacement fund balance, as Dave mentioned. A couple other things I think I already talked about. We did complete that capital reserve in the future repairs and replacement study this year. And as Dave mentioned, there's more than, it's always up for debate on how to do that. But from a financial perspective, there's nothing wrong with having money in the bank versus borrowing money in the future. For my aspect, just lends credence to being fundamentally sound and healthy organization. And Mr. President, that's the short and sweet version. As always, I'd like to thank Dave and Art Carmine and his staff for helping us complete another successful audit. And like I said, as always, the financial report is available either through Art, or I'm always happy to answer questions. I'm always available at my office, and Art always knows how to reach me. Thank you very much.
That concludes the reports that we have scheduled for this morning. Is there any old business? There being no old business, we're going to move on to new business on the agenda. There are a couple of presentations that I would like to see made under the new business part of this agenda, starting with one from Mike Howell. So Mike, if you'd like to take the podium, it's all yours.
Good morning, everyone. I have to readjust the microphone here. It's always a pleasure of my staff and myself to pick the Sam Wilkerson Volunteer of the Year Award. We sit down, we come together, we put names out on the table, we discuss them, and it is actual process. We don't go around and pick people out. It is an actual process that we go through. It is my pleasure to present Joe Russo with the Sam Wilkinson Volunteer of the Year Award.
Nothing said in it? You don't have anything to say in it?
I haven't met an Italian that was speechless. I'd just like to say that it was a pleasure working with the rec department, and particularly Mike Howell and Jessica Donaway, and all the people that call me about putting things in a newspaper. And I'd also like to thank the platform tennis volunteer instructors and all of those people. We really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Tucker, would you care to come forward? You all know Wayne Tucker. He spent the last 3 years serving as a director on the board of directors. Wayne elected not to run again this year, and also elected to move home to West Virginia, which I understand is a process that's ongoing and moving rapidly.
Closing on the 10th here in Ocean Pines, September 10th, and closing on the 11th in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, up off what we call the North Woods, and 5.5 the wooded property back in the hills, West Virginia, called Sleepy Mountain Hollow.
So if y'all have mason jars sitting around the house and you want to go visit Wayne,
We have access to the Potomac River, so if you want to do a little road, you can come up.
as is the tradition in Ocean Pines, we do like to give outgoing directors a token of our appreciation as a community. Wayne, I won't tell you what's in there, but it might help you move.
First of all, I've got some thoughts from a retiring and departing member of the Ocean Pines Board of Directors. I'm not long-winded, as we have some folks here that are, but I've always been short and to the point, and when I left my classes after 37 years of teaching, I did the same thing. So I'm carrying on tradition, okay? Fellow homeowners, friends, and board members, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve this community over the last 2 years. It has been both a rewarding and disappointing experience. I came to the table thinking I could effect changes that would make the community better and improve relations among board members, but soon realized after several meetings of the board of directors that would almost be an impossible task. Civility was lacking as an ingredient on the board in 2001 when I took the oath of office, and now I've served my 3 years and I find it still one that needs to be instituted. This community deserves to have members on the board of directors and advisory committees that practice civility and courtesy. Hopefully the newly elected board will accomplish this and will be tolerant of those who hold differing views than their own. This community is both diverse and talented and needs to use God-given talents to help move the barriers of intolerance and self-serving to give and serving others. Don't allow indifference and apathy to destroy the initiatives and progress of our growing community. Welcome differences and concentrate on what is best for all and not just a few. Get actively involved in the amenities and support those who look to improve them and question the whys and wherefores of those who would cast doubt about their successful operations without facts to back up their complaints as to their failures. Attend the meetings and give written and verbal comments on what you like and dislike. Remember, this homeowners association belongs to you and not the board of directors. Volunteer to serve on one of the many standing advisory committees and provide the board of directors with the information they ask for, and be proud to serve on them. Give back to your community, and the community will succeed as it never has before. Learn cooperation and patience, because boards sometimes take a long time to respond as they should to your hard work. Don't get discouraged. Rome wasn't built in a day. Challenge your county commissioners in the areas that affect your safety and welfare. That's the American way. Praise those who work in the pines on a day-to-day basis and thank them for services provided. Get the facts on issues before making decisions, and fill the news media with positive comments. Challenge your board of directors through the website, emails, and phone calls to get answers to your questions. I'll be leaving this fair community with the selling and closing of our home on September 10th, 2004, but I'll be still leaving a part of me behind here in the Pines. Whatever was accomplished during these last years was due to the efforts of all the board as well as its failures. When General Douglas MacArthur gave his farewell address at West Point, he said, "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away." That's true in many respects, except I changed that statement to read, "Old board members never die, they just move."
Just to illustrate Wayne's point about diversity, Mr. Linus, would you care to step up here for a moment? This was not prearranged.
Saturday morning in Ocean Pines.
Chris, again, on behalf of the board and the community, we'd like to thank you for 3 years of hard work. We do have a token that I think you'll enjoy. Please accept it with the thanks of the community. Thanks all yours.
I didn't prepare anything, so I'll be real quick. First off, Wayne and I didn't always agree on the board, but I so agree with the spirit. And I am truly bummed to be losing such a good next-door neighbor and a good friend. Wayne. Beyond that, had a great time, met a lot of great people, learned a lot, and look forward to living here for a good long time and being involved. And last but not least, I want to commend each and every candidate who ran this time around, and I want to ask you all to throw your support behind this new board, whoever gets elected. And that's all I have to say.
Is there any other business? There being no additional new business, this Now the traditional time to open the floor and open forum to anyone who would care to address the group. I have already gotten number 1 back from the board. Those of you who have taken numbers, if we can just go in numerical order, and if you'd be kind enough to use the microphone in the center of the room in the aisle, I'd appreciate it. So if there's number 2 out, any comments? Mike's all yours. Please give me your name and your address.
I'm Harold Ewing at 24 Side Court. I heard your comment about the mosquitoes, but they seem to be around by the millions. What's the future prospect of reducing this mosquito population?
Can you hear him? As I think you're aware, we do have a contract with the Department of Agriculture. They have been doing regular spraying. They have traps that are monitoring mosquito counts throughout the community and spray 2 to 3 times evenings a week, have been for the last month when the rainy season hit. So beyond that, we'd encourage everyone to help us eliminate standing water in ditches and backyards and do all of the things that eliminate the standing water and make full use of mosquito ducts, etc., that we have available for sale at the Public Works Garage. And beyond that, it's a losing battle, but one that is being waged through spraying throughout the community.
Thank you. Number 3.
Good morning. My name is Paul Borman. I live on Easton Avenue, just off Langland Creek. There's a dump site behind my house. Mr. Ferguson talked earlier about a dredging program. What he didn't mention is that the results of the dredging program are in my backyard. I'd like it moved. He talked about change. I'm asking for change sooner as opposed to later. There's a really bad smell.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman. We are aware of the spoil site. The issue, of course, is the fact that Ocean Pines is building out, and we're obviously running out of land and to use for that spoil site. We are working on the issue right now. So that hopefully will happen relatively quickly, that you will not have that in your backyard. Thank you. Number 3. That was you were number 3. We have anybody else out with a number out there? Going once? Are there any comments? Or yes, ma'am. Please use the microphone if you don't mind.
In regard to spraying, in regard to this, my name is Pat Benson. I'm from Section 10. Pat Benson, I'm from Section 10. In regard to mosquito spraying, I wish that people would be informed when spraying is to occur, because many people leave their windows open at night for fresh air, and also they go out into their yards and work first in the morning, and they need to be aware that the area is being sprayed so that they can take measures to protect themselves against the spread. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Besson. Are there any other comments from the floor? Yes, sir.
Dick Fowler from
Clear. Relax. Just use the mic and not going anywhere.
Right. Dick Fowler, 38 Saltgrass Road. As we heard in the reports, there's enough money in the reserve fund to take care of the ongoing maintenance of the roads. I live on Saltgrass Road, and we are not even in the projected to-do list or overdue list as far as I'm concerned. There are no new lots being developed because they're all developed, so we don't have to wait for utilities to be completed. And I would like to know, where does Saltgrass Road, Section 15, stand in relation to the repair of the roads? Because we have the worst and the roughest road in the entire Ocean Pines area, and it's not even being addressed.
Whether you have the roughest would be debatable by some folks, but as I indicated, our schedule this year is, I don't have the list of roads, but it's in section 10. I mentioned that the final section to be done is in that area you're in as well. I'll take a look at it. But it's not scheduled this year, but it will be next year program.
Any other comments from the floor? Yes, I'm sorry.
In the report, Marge Everson-Sabor.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Marge Everson-Sabor, and I'm a 5-ward report. And in the report it was mentioned about maintaining our facilities, but where exactly are we as far as the community center goes and expansion? Where are we right now?
We have been working on that for nearly 3 years. That was turned by this year's board over to an architect and an engineering company once we had defined space requirements. The results of that study are in draft form back in the hands of the Comprehensive Plans Committee. I anticipate that the new board will be meeting on that subject in September, and then hopefully it will be the subject of the first town forum for September, early October. It is an ongoing and very important project in Ocean Pines. Yes, ma'am.
Genesis Stacy of 93 Martin Beach Circle. What is the status on the beach property? Are we seriously considering selling it off? That is the amenity that brought me here December 11 years ago.
From the board standpoint, as it is currently constituted, no. We are not seriously considering selling the beach property. Our parliamentarian and council just pointed out that even if a board were to consider disposing of a piece of property, it would require a referendum in order to sell it. So everyone will certainly have a voice in disposing of assets of that nature should we ever get to that point. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Griffin, and
You'll have to get closer.
My name is Mary Griffin. I live at 3 Dove Lane, and I'm a part-time resident, and I would like to know how often we have these on the weekends, because I go 3.5 hours to get down here, and I do appreciate this.
Thank you very much. At the moment, we do not have them scheduled on weekends. The new board of directors, after their organizational meeting, may decide to change that.
It seems like a very good turnout.
Well, these are, yes. The average board meeting does not have 100+ people at it. Thank goodness. Any other comments from the floor? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The open forum is now closed. And I would like to turn the floor over to Ms. Ida Lehner, who, in addition to being this morning's teller, is also the chair of the Ocean Pines Election Committee, for her report on this year's election of new directors. Board is all yours.
Morning. First of all, I'd like to thank the members of my committee and the help we got from the staff and the board of Ocean Pines. We had 6 candidates running for 4 available seats on the board due to the resignation of Joe Pastore. We mailed 7,738 ballots. We received 3,992 ballots. That's a 52% return. That's the same return as last year, even though we sent out 245 less ballots last year. Of the ballots mailed, 57% went to zip code 21811. Of the returned ballots, 70% came back from zip code 21811. Of the ballots returned, 17% were in the ballot box and 83% came by mail. We had 74 individuals who received one write-in vote, including Betty Boop and Minnie Mouse. I won't read those names. Those receiving two write-in votes: Jim Omlar, Robin Rickett, Bernard Kirby, Joanne Kirby, Steve Line, Mark Bennett, Barbara Wetzel, Ed Wetzel. Those receiving three votes: John O'Connor, Jim Buggy, June Clendenin, Dave Williams, Melvin Jones. 4 votes were received by Ray Unger, Mickey Mouse, Tom Satola, and Jerry Lawson. 5 votes were received by G.N. Turner. 11 votes were received by William Rako, and 28 votes were received by Jeff Wadler. One of the concerns we had this year were the number of ballots received in the ballot envelope without being put in the labeled return envelope. We had 22 of those this year, and we had to reject them because they could not be identified on the list of members in good standing. Also, we processed 6 instances where more than one ballot was in a single ballot envelope. There were 5 instances where extra blank ballots were returned. We had experienced several instances where the bulk mail was not delivered promptly to Ocean Pines. So we made a special trip to the Berlin Post Office on the afternoon of the last day to be sure we got all the available ballots. We processed 3,992 ballots through the scanning equipment as marked and made no attempt to interpret or guess as to the intent of the vote, and we did not make any corrections to any ballots. We could see some ballots were going to be rejected by the system, and we wanted to test the system fully. Of the ballots processed, 12 were rejected by Scantron. This was a rejection rate of 0.003%. 6 were rejected for too many votes. 1 used check marks. 1 had blanked out the names. 1 ballot was torn and taped. 1 had gotten wet and was no longer flat. And 2 had damaged edges. In addition, there were a number of ballots where there were no votes marked, but attempts were made to vote in the yes and no area at the bottom, which is reserved for referendum questions. These circumstances were all covered in the instructions, and they were either ignored or misunderstood. We also received 2 ballots mailed in October 2003 for the Board of Governors election, the golf governor's election. The scan time equipment worked as expected, and the computer system functioned well. We didn't have any operator problems. And we'll have some suggestions and recommendations to the board in our annual report. So here's what you're all here for. This is the ballot count. Number 6, Norman Katz, 1,544. Number 5, Bruce McIntyre, 1,548. Number 4, George Colburn, 1,974. Number 3, Glenn Duffy, 2,376. Number 2, Dan Stacherski, 2,853. Number 1, Heather Cook, 2,987. So Mrs. Cook and Messrs. Stacherski and Duffy will serve 3-year terms, and Mrs. Colburn will serve
Like the food report, Mr. Swinton? All right, and you will be providing a written report to the board?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this report concludes the agenda for this annual meeting. It's been a pleasure sitting up here and running my third one. I trust you all will have a great day. This meeting is adjourned.